Orphan boy is raised by a goddess from an immortal race that holds the power to control the strongest dragons. In the hidden village of Iorf, there lived a unique group known as the Clan of Partings. These special people were skilled weavers of the magical Hibial cloth. To the outside world, Hibial is considered a luxury cloth, but to the Iorf people, it's a magical cloth that stores memories and tells stories. Only those who have Iorf blood can read it, but they kept themselves isolated from the outside world. One day, after finishing their chores, Maquia was left alone by her friends as they went to be with their parents. Maquia felt sad and sat by herself because she felt lonely. She's been an orphan from birth and never had someone to call family. Just as her loneliness grew, an elder approached Maquia. She poured out her feelings of solitude, and the elder shared with her the rich heritage of their clan. The people of Iorf had chosen to distance themselves from the rest of the world. The elder warned Maquia to never let herself fall in love with someone from the outside. That night, as Maquia prepared for bed, she gazed out of her window and spotted her friend sneaking away in secret. Her curiosity piqued, and she decided to follow. To her surprise, she discovered her friend with another companion, and a profound sense of grief overwhelmed her. A single tear slid down her cheek, landing on a nearby flower. In an instant, the flower burst into a vibrant bloom, setting off a chain reaction that caused all the flowers around her to blossom. But as Maquia looked up to the sky, she noticed something unsettling. Wraiths, mysterious entities, hovered above, casting a sense of foreboding. Maquia sprinted towards the elders, her heart pounding, as she witnessed the sight of her giving orders to protect the precious Hibial cloth. Suddenly, a group of mysterious figures descended upon them, delivering an urgent message. The king himself had extended an invitation for her presence at the magnificent Mezark royal palace. Chief Iser, speaking on behalf of the king, accused Elder Racine of being a deceitful monster, concealing her true age with an enchanting frozen appearance. He commanded everyone to be taken away, and those who resisted were to be eliminated. Trapped inside the Hibial tower, Maquia desperately fought to escape, but her efforts were thwarted when she caught sight of a menacing berserk Renato trailing behind her. Fear gripped her as she attempted to flee, only to be ensnared by the cloth and forcefully dragged away by the wraith. As they soared through the vast open skies, Maquia was awestruck by the breathtaking beauty surrounding her. However, their journey took a sudden turn when Renato became engulfed in flames, hurling Maquia into the depths of the unfamiliar forest, and leaving her utterly alone. As she walked through the forest, grieving the loss of her home, she stumbled upon a small community. Curiosity led her to peek inside one of the camps, where she was met with a shocking sight: a deceased mother clutching a wailing baby in her arms. Inside the camp, a trader who had come to buy the precious Hibial cloth was about to abandon the baby, leaving it to perish. Without hesitation, Maquia reached out and cradled the baby. He was her Hibial. With the baby in tow, Maquia's search for food led her to a welcoming house. The woman living there kindly invited her inside, but Maquia was overwhelmed and unsure of how to care for a child at her tender age of 15. Sensing her confusion, the woman took Maquia to the nearby town, where she ran errands for the townspeople. Along the way, a shop owner recognized Maquia as Orphan, but promised to keep her identity a secret. During their return journey, the woman shared a heartbreaking revelation. Her husband had been killed by a Renato who had contracted the dreaded red eye disease, just like the Renato who had taken Maquia. When Maquia admitted that she didn't know how to take care of the child she named Ariel because she never had a mother, the woman graciously took her in. As the seasons changed and they adjusted to their new lifestyle, Maquia felt both excited and anxious. At the royal palace, the Renato numbers were plummeting due to the dreaded red eye disease, and the king was desperate to maintain his power. Lelia, Maquia's dear friend, had been taken captive by the king. She was being forced into a marriage with the crown prince because there was no limit to his greed for power. Maquia tirelessly weaved to support herself and Ariel. She sold it to a shop owner. In exchange, he revealed something extraordinary: a Hibial cloth. With just one glance, Maquia knew that this cloth held the key to uncovering news about her friend Lelia. Determined to rescue Lelia, Maquia devised a plan to journey to the palace alongside Ariel, setting sail on a ship. On the ship, she was unexpectedly reunited with her Iorfian friend, Krim. As they sat down together, their conversation focused on Lelia and her impending wedding to the prince. Krim reminded Maquia of the Iorfian vow they had taken, swearing to never fall in love with anyone in the outside world. Maquia hadn't forgotten this vow, but she could not reveal her love for Ariel. Their ship arrived at the kingdom just in time for the grand wedding parade. Maquia, Krim, and the others hatched a daring plan to rescue Lelia from her captor's clutches. The tension grew as they prepared for their mission to steal her away, hoping to bring her back to freedom and safety. During the parade, chaos erupted as Krim attacked the Renato, causing it to go out of control. The crown prince, who was riding atop the Renato, fell but was luckily caught by the chief. Amidst the panic, Maquia urgently approached Lelia and pleaded with her to come along. As they hurriedly ran through the alleyway, Lelia halted and revealed to Maquia that she was pregnant, making it impossible for her to escape. Lelia urged Maquia to flee as the guards were hot on their heels. Despite her own reservations, Maquia was whisked away by a mysterious man. To her surprise, it was the same man she had encountered at the settlement while saving Ariel. He disclosed his true identity as a half-Orphan, a race destined for separation. Overwhelmed by the entire ordeal, Maquia returned to find Krim, who was deeply saddened. In a fit of rage, he heartlessly made Maquia cry, cruelly stating that she would have to watch Ariel die as she would outlive him. In the dead of night, Krim vanished, leaving behind a hibial cloth as a sign that he had departed and urging Maquia to leave too, as she would only be a burden with a child to care for. In the morning, Maquia and Ariel set off on a quest to find a new place to live and work. They walked through the town, encountering many challenges along the way. By the end of the day, when Maquia returned to the inn, she was furious to find Ariel playing with her precious weaving machine. Exhausted from the day's chaos, she couldn't contain her anger and screamed at Ariel, causing him to run away from the inn. Left alone in the inn, Maquia couldn't help but cry as she realized that she was not a real mother, but merely pretending to be one. Feeling overwhelmed with emotions, Maquia went to look at her weaving machine, only to discover that Ariel had written the word mother on the hibial cloth. Touched by his gesture, Maquia ran after Ariel in the pouring rain, searching desperately for him. Eventually, she found his clothes, which initially panicked her. However, it turned out to be a playful prank from Ariel, meant to make her laugh. Overwhelmed with relief, Maquia held Ariel in her arms, begging him not to grow up. But Ariel knew he had to become stronger in order to protect her, and they embraced each other tightly. Years later, Ariel had grown bigger and stronger, while Maquia worked as a waitress at the inn. One day, she was surprised by an unexpected visit from Lang, who had been like a brother to her. Ariel, aware that Maquia was not her biological mother, had distanced himself. Maquia asked Lang, who was now in the forces, about Lelia. Meanwhile, Lelia found herself oppressed after giving birth to her daughter. She was trapped in the palace with nowhere to turn. Separated from her daughter, she was driven to madness by loneliness and desperately yearned to see Maquia. During one of her shifts, Lang urgently needed to speak with Maquia. After finishing her duties, Maquia was informed that the palace requested her presence. As staying in one place for too long raised suspicion, she had to decide. Lang proposed that she should return to the farm and wanted her back in his life. However, Maquia, determined not to cause any more trouble for her family, and wanting to be the best mother to Ariel, couldn't entertain the idea. Lang, defeated, told her that he would find a new place then for her. That night, Ariel stumbled home, intoxicated, and a heated argument erupted between him and Maquia. In his drunken state, he declared that he no longer wanted to call her his mother. The following day, filled with remorse, Ariel approached Lang and asked if he could join the army, fearing that he might harm Maquia and wanting to escape living with her. Unbeknownst to him, Maquia overheard their conversation and felt immense sadness, but she gathered her belongings and saw Ariel off. Left alone in the room, Maquia desperately tried to calm herself, but then the window swung open, and a mysterious man stepped inside. A while later, Lang knocked on the door, but there was no response. Maquia was taken into custody and held captive in the palace. Years later, a jealous Krim, envious of Maquia's past happiness as a mother, arrived to take her to meet Lelia. In an instant, her past life was severed as Krim ruthlessly cut off her dyed hair, leaving Maquia to face an uncertain future once again. Meanwhile, Ariel had moved on with his life, now married and expecting a child. Although content, he couldn't help but worry about Maquia's safety and well-being. The war had begun, and the enemy forces attacked the palace. Ariel witnessed the chaos from his home and swiftly raced to the scene to fight back. The kingdom had once harnessed ancient powers to display their might, but now they were vulnerable with only one remaining Renato, and the bloodline in jeopardy. The neighboring nations united to bring the kingdom down. As the palace came under attack, Maquia and Krim managed to escape on horseback. However, their horse was soon struck down by enemy fire, forcing them to abandon it. Maquia, now barefoot, unexpectedly crossed paths with Ariel, who stood dressed in his soldier uniform. The enemy's bullets continued to rain down, prompting Maquia to flee while Ariel courageously joined the fight. Meanwhile, Lelia, wandering through the now deserted palace, unexpectedly encountered Krim. She was shocked, believing him to be dead. Krim, determined to protect her, tried to take her away, but Lelia insisted on seeing her daughter. Amidst their disagreement, a shot rang out, hitting Krim and leaving him gravely wounded. He miraculously made his way to the last Renato and awaited his death. As Maquia sprinted through the ruins of the palace, her mind wandered back to the fateful day she escaped from Iorf. A distant cry caught her attention, leading her to a nearby house. Inside, she discovered Ariel's wife, about to give birth. Recognizing Maquia from their days at the farm, Dita shared the news of the impending arrival with her. Without hesitation, Maquia sprang into action, assisting Dita in finding a comfortable position for the delivery. Meanwhile, Ariel valiantly fought on the front lines for their kingdom. In the midst of battle, tragedy struck as he slipped on a lifeless body and was suddenly attacked from behind. Despite the chaos of war, Dita successfully brought their baby girl into the world, safe and healthy. When Ariel regained consciousness and opened his eyes, he was astonished to find Maquia standing before him. He had thought he had perished, but the war had finally come to an end. The enemy had won. Maquia wasted no time in delivering the joyful news of their child and the faithful weight of his wife. With a heavy heart, Ariel expressed his sadness, reflecting on all the valuable lessons he had learned from Maquia. In return, Maquia reassured him that he had been her protector, her Hibial, as he had promised all those years ago. In this tense and thrilling moment, Lang approached them, and Maquia made a heartfelt request for him to take Ariel back to where he truly belonged, with his family. As Maquia prepared to leave Ariel, he called out Mother, causing her to abruptly stop in her tracks. Maquia turned back, nodding in appreciation, and then continued on her journey. Upon returning to the palace, Maquia was devastated to discover Krim's lifeless body. She tenderly closed his eyes and, in that moment, caught sight of the last Renato, still chained up. Despite the shock and heartache, Maquia remained determined to find freedom for herself and her loved ones. Lelia, shaken up by the events, cautiously made her way across the palace roof. To her astonishment, she spotted her daughter there. Overwhelmed with emotion, Lelia could hardly believe her own eyes. The daughter, curious about her identity, was met with a heartfelt explanation from Lelia. She was the woman who had finally found freedom. In a breathtaking moment, Maquia caught Lelia atop the back of the Renato. Lelia felt relief flood over her as she realized she was safe in Maquia's grasp. Together, they soared through the air, leaving behind the watchful eyes of the citizens, the vanished ancient beings. On the flight, Lelia couldn't stop crying, and Maquia assured her that she would never forget about her daughter. It was a painful moment, but they both knew that they would always hold their loved ones close in their hearts. When Ariel arrived home, he was greeted by a heartwarming sight, his wife and beloved daughter. Overwhelmed with joy, Ariel promised to raise their daughter together with all the love and care in the world. The clan of Partings witnessed many farewells as time marched on. Decades later, Maquia, still youthful in appearance, decided to pay Ariel one last visit before he too departed from this world. Seeing him in his frail state, she was filled with happiness, knowing that he had lived his life to the fullest. Maquia presented him with a beautifully woven Hibial cloth, bidding him farewell for his safe journey ahead. As she left the house, a wave of sadness washed over Maquia, and she couldn't help but break her promise not to cry. But amidst the tears, she was grateful for the love she had experienced. Watch this next video. See you on the next one.